On a 0 to 10, how much do you care about work-life balance? And if they care a lot, then we know that it's not the right fit.
Welcome back. Thanks for your patience as we took a much needed break to kind of figure things out. To kick off season 2, we came over to San Diego to talk to Zeb, who's the founder of ClickUp. They're making a game-changing project management tool and a tool that we love to use within our company. Their whole goal is to make the world a more productive place. Let's dive right in. I appreciate you taking the time. I've been extremely excited because like I've mentioned, I've worked at a few different marketing agencies and have been in the industry for about 8 years, and the whole project management side of things is just, there's none of it almost. It seems like there's a huge need for it, and what you've been doing has been awesome. So before we get into ClickUp, I would just love to learn more about your story. What have you been through? What have you been doing? It looks like you've started or founded a couple other companies, and so I'd love to just kind of get a little bit of background on you.
Yeah, absolutely. So happy to be here. If we start from the top, I've been an entrepreneur since I was born. So when I was 3 or 4 years old, I was that kid selling things. I wasn't asking for toys for my birthday for myself. I was asking for like wholesale toys to sell. So that was always just my thing. I was born with it. I don't know what it was. When I was 10, I had my first website. I was selling wholesale DVDs on the internet. I ended up one day, my dad called me upstairs when I was 10, and I go upstairs and there's like 2 FBI looking guys upstairs. And you know, they look at each other, they look at me and they look at each other and they just kind of like smile at each other. It was a motion picture association. I was selling bootleg DVDs. So I've got kind of a story like that for every year of my life. But ultimately in college, I had an entertainment company, and we were managing artists and kind of doing their social media, and there was a lot of inefficiency in what was going on. So I knew that there was a way to automate this. I went to school for business, but I'd always been obsessed with technology. So I just kind of learned how to code on the side, create our own applications for automating a lot of the social media. And ultimately dropped out of school right after I did that, and built that business up in Charlotte, North Carolina. Through that is where I started my dance with project management software. So it started with Basecamp, and then we ended up with Jira plus Trello plus Asana for marketing, and then you had Todoist for your personal stuff. You had Confluence for notes. It was just kind of this massive, hodgepodge of project management applications, and that's where my frustrations arose, really. So ultimately, ClickUp started as an internal tool. Built it for ourselves just to use for our own project. I was working on something completely different. I wanted to do a new Craigslist competitor where you could like pay in app and remove the sketchiness from Craigslist.
Yep.
But before we did that, we decided to finish ClickUp, and we did, and it just started growing on its own. So that's how we're here today.
That is sweet. So what was that? I mean, what was the thought process on tired of being in this app? Like what was the discussion that was had that's just got everything started?
It was just our own frustrations, honestly. It really was. It was just, we didn't know what people were working on because there's so many different applications, and even one of those applications never really told you what somebody is working on right now. You couldn't figure out what people had done, what work they've done for a given period, and you surely couldn't find things or know where to put things. So at the end of the day, it was all about saving people time. It was about saving us time at first. And that kind of vision evolved to making people more productive.
At what point did it go from, all right, this is helping us out, to getting it out to the world? How long until that started just getting outside of your guys' walls and helping other people? And how did that whole process start?
So it evolved in a very short period of time, probably 2 months.
Oh, wow.
We actually, I had my other company in Charlotte, and I had a near-death experience, actually. And that week that I had that, I was like, holy shit, this is not what I want to do. We want to do something much bigger for the world. And this was a very kind of closed-minded business that I had. And so that next week we moved out to Silicon Valley. It was always my dream to just be in San Francisco, kind of like the aura of technology and entrepreneurship there. So when we moved there, it was go time, and we just created ClickUp as fast as possible so that we could create the next company. We did it in about a month and started sharing it with people in Palo Alto, and it just started growing from there. So probably a month after that, it was growing fast enough where we're like, this is a real problem. It's not our own problem.
Yeah.
And that's where the light bulb went off.
And how long ago was that?
About 2 years ago.
2 years ago?
Yep.
What were some of the first, I guess, big companies to start using ClickUp and seeing success with it?
Yeah, I mean, we've got tons of logos. Honestly, they range from several people up to several hundred person teams. But when you look at the data on our team sizes, we average about 8 people per team. So you've got, I always say, you got the families that use ClickUp that are using it literally to take out the trash. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, you've got like Tesla using ClickUp, NBC using ClickUp, kind of these really larger organizations that are using it for entirely different use cases. But at its core, that's what it's supposed to do. It's very flexible, so you can use it for something simple, and you can also use it for something complex.
Are you doing more of the personal? It's funny that you mentioned that because it's we use it for us to project manage, but my wife and I started using it as well personally for just paying bills, taking out trash, stuff like that. Are you trying to get into the personal space? Is there any opportunity there that you see at all, or?
We don't want to focus on the personal space. Our focus is on teams. So we had a first version of our product which was much more of a simple focus, and that was used more so as a personal task manager. But there's 100 personal task managers, and there's several that are incredible that I would recommend to people if they just want to manage their personal tasks and they don't work with other people. But ClickUp is really built to work with teams and for your personal life also. So you should be able to use it for your personal stuff and also use it for teams. That was just a huge disconnect that I had. I had to use Todoist for my personal things, and I really had to use everything else for teams because it was not a one-size-fits-all solution.
You've been growing incredibly fast. I mean, it's been a couple years, and it looks like you have a team of over 40. How did that happen? Has it all been word of mouth? I mean, you mentioned you've run a social media company. What have you guys done to get the word out there and to really grow the brand and the value that ClickUp is really bringing to the business community?
Yeah, it's been 100% organic.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's all organic. So we started with SEO. I was a big SEO person, the whole organic approach, social media, and that is really kind of what allowed us to start that growth path. But recently it's been primarily word of mouth and referring people. We benefit because it's inherently viral. You have to invite other people to work on it. So when people leave jobs or move to different positions or locations, or there's crossover with other teams, we benefit from that, and it becomes kind of like a viral sharing approach.
That's cool. And is the trend just continuing to grow? I mean, you guys have been working hard. You guys just launched version 2, which awesome job on that. What's been the feedback on version 2 so far?
Yeah, I mean, we launched version 2 back. The beta was in June, and then kind of slow rolled it out for a couple months. Today, 90% of people are on version 2. And it's certainly a different product than version 1 is. It's much more of like the vision that I had originally was aggregating all your software together and being able to use it for anything. So this is what's setting us for the foundation of that. So on the vast majority of the feedback is exceptional. The stuff that isn't is what we knew was going to happen. Is we're alienating those single users, that single user use case, the very small 1-person, 2-person teams. It's too much for them.
Gotcha. That makes sense. I mean, what has been the process like? It seems like you guys are coming out with new features. You guys are upgrading it every single week, right?
Absolutely.
How are you guys doing that? I mean, most people that would hear that is like, wow, that is insane when it comes to software, whatever it may be. But how have you been able to execute? You and your team been able to execute on that?
Yeah, it starts with, I guess, all the mistakes I made at my previous company, which was, we hired 50 plus engineers to try and move faster. More engineers does not mean faster shipping. It means slower shipping most of the time. So it starts with having, a relatively small but exceptional team, like all 10x people. And then it ends with, these people working very hard also. So you benefit from that. That's certainly probably the core piece of it. But we also do some things very differently in our development cycles, just because of the lessons I've learned from the past. Everybody preaches these new methodologies for development, and we tried those, and it slows you down a lot. So we created kind of a new system of development where we can really confidently ship new features every single week. And that's what was so appealing to me is about being able to do this ourselves. Is we're in an industry that was very monolithic, and they really didn't change much at all. They would ship something every year basically. All of our competitors have 5+, in most respects like 10+ years on us, but we've really been able to build much more feature set than them in just a couple of years.
Yeah, no, it's like I mentioned, it used Basecamp, used Monday, used Trello, used quite a bit, and they're each one of them lacks a good chunk of things that are needed to help get things across the finish line. And the things you guys have been doing, how quickly you guys are turning things out, it's truly amazing. And no, it's been fun to watch and super helpful. I appreciate it because it makes us more productive. It's interesting. You mentioned having a bunch of 10Xers. You've started a couple other companies. How much culture impacts an actual business?
A ton. Absolutely a ton. We're in a highly competitive industry, so we've known that from the beginning. And I didn't want to get into this industry because of how competitive it is, but we've benefited from that kind of forming our culture a little bit, because we have to have this urgency to us. We have to have a better work ethic than our competitors in order to beat them. So that certainly has influenced our culture a lot, just being in this kind of rat race of a competitive landscape. Fortunately, this industry is now the largest software market in the world, the collaboration space, and it's continuing to grow exponentially. So there's not one player in our industry that wins. It's not a winner takes all type of scenario. So we certainly benefit from that. We benefit from the growth that this industry has, but at the same time, it's still very highly competitive. So we're always aware of that.
And how do you go about, and I don't know if culture can be created or if it's built upon, I guess what I'm getting at is how have you created such a good culture? Is it something that you preach every day on this is what we need to do? Or is it through the hiring process? Is it the types of questions you're asking? I guess, how have you gone about creating a culture to where you have a group of 10Xers that are doing it? Because work ethic is hard to come by. Really good work ethic is hard to find. And how you guys are growing, it seems like you've definitely found a little sweet spot there. And how have you been able to approach that?
It's the hiring process, 1,000% the hiring process. One question for the work ethic, we ask people, we're always very transparent about the amount of work that we have. But to give you an example, one question we ask on our type form before you apply is, on a 0 to 10, how much do you care about work-life balance? And if they care a lot, then we know that it's not the right fit.
Gotcha. That's not, I like it. Definitely transparent. Do you let them know that, or is that okay?
Mm-hmm. No, yeah. We always look, if somebody cares about work-life balance right now, this isn't the place for you. It's a startup, and we're in a highly competitive industry. So this next six months to a year, we all have to be working really hard in order to beat out our competitors. We see the vision of ClickUp is the first work platform where you really have aggregated all of your work in one place. So we want to get to that $1 billion revenue category where we've kind of been synonymous with work, where ClickUp is synonymous with work. And so to do that, it's not going to be forever, but this next year is very important to us. So we have to work hard.
No, I absolutely love that, because it's tough, because we've been doing the same. Everyone's 15, 16 hours a day, just the last year and a half. Everyone has that same vision of where we want to be and know what it takes. But I appreciate you saying that, because so many companies try and dance around that and say, oh, it's all about work life, but it's as you mentioned, it's just not a right fit right now. That might not be forever, but where you guys want to go in the time frame that you guys want to get there, that's so awesome that you're transparent about that. I love that. It gave me goosebumps as you were talking through that.
Yeah, it's very atypical, right? You don't really hear that around here, but it's something where we are in a highly competitive industry, and I think at the end of the day, your work does matter. The amount of effort that you put into it, the ethic does matter. I think we're biased too much because we hear about the monopolies of our industry. You hear Google and Facebook. They have nothing to worry about, right? They're a monopoly. So they can preach work-life balance all day, and they can follow through with that now, but they surely didn't do that when they were starting out.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's plenty of stories that highlight that wasn't the fact. I mean, it's a grind if you want to get to that million, $100 million, $1 billion revenue line. I mean, it's not just 8-hour days and 2-hour lunches and all that. It is a grind, and it takes a special type of person to, and maybe not even a special type of person, but people that have the same type of vision and want to get to the same spot. It's cool that you've been able to get that many people around you to help. Is this the largest amount of employees that you've had to manage before, or have you had?
My other company was bigger. It was about 100 people.
Oh, wow.
But we have about 50 people now, if you include people remotely. We certainly are growing faster than my other company, though, and this is more of a broader depth of scope to everything, meaning like we have marketing, we just hired sales, we have a engineering team, but we also have a QA team, we have a design team, we've got a product team, we've got an operations team. So this is more of a broader depth of business, whereas my previous company really was engineering and customer service, and that was it.
Is there a certain employee size that really starts to bottleneck where you can really feel it? It takes a lot more thinking, a lot more, because I mean, you can be pretty agile, 1 to 5, but is there a certain point in which you go, well, okay, this is going to take a bit more time, need more help?
Yeah, so the breaking points in my mind are like 5, 10, 25. Then when you get over 50, it changes. It's kind of where you have to really start putting the operational pieces in place and a lot more processes in place. But when you're a real startup, like 5 or under people, it's an entirely different feel, very informal. When you go from 5 to 10, you've got to start putting some formalities in place. When you go over 10, you have to start having onboarding. When you go over 25, you really have to have onboarding process in place and somebody that's doing one-on-ones, people that are hiring for, and having direct reports. So it's about putting more structure in place as you grow up. We always want to remain like a startup at heart, though. We don't want a bunch of red tape. We want to always be able to be very direct with people, but also joke with people, have fun with people. Yeah. So we're not going to be that formal kind of enterprise company, I don't think. Hopefully.
It's a fine balance to maneuver, but I mean, if you go back to the hiring process and just find the right people, I think it's not as difficult to do. But yeah, no, it's definitely great. Love the core values that you guys have. Number one being customer service at heart, not just for this industry, but just trying to give someone the best customer service that they've ever experienced. Why is customer service so at the heart of your core values?
It's been inside of me since I had started my first businesses. It's just always about customer service. I feel it as a customer for other businesses. I mean, at its core, all a business has is its customers, right? That's all it has. So why would they not care about them more than anything? So we've just kind of strayed away from that. You have a lot of companies that really don't have competition. When you remove competition from the equation, you remove the need to care about customers. So like airline industry is a perfect example of this. You've got big 4 airlines that control everything and they don't have to worry about competition anymore. So you have horrible customer service there. Cable companies have no competition, horrible customer service there. We're in a competitive market, but we still come to a place where the standard of customer service was very low in this market. So we've kind of just tried to raise the bar as we go. We're not perfect yet because we have been growing really fast and we're trying to hire as fast as we can. But ideally we'll be there kind of by the end of the year back to where we want to be from customer service. Another side of that is I did a Disney internship for 6 months. And so you learn customer service there. They throw you into the fire and you really kind of learn their core values and principles. So I've taken that with me as well.
Yeah, no, I listened to another podcast that he did an internship at Disney World and basically, yeah, same thing. His business agency is built upon customer service and he's grown it to something pretty large. But yeah, interesting to hear the Disney side of things. Are those your core values, or did you guys come up with it as a company, or what was that process like to try and figure out what those core values are and how you communicate them?
Yeah, we came up with them as kind of our core team when we were starting, when it was just a few of us. Some of them I had on my own for my previous company, and then other ones we just kind of created as a group. We've also changed them as we go. So we try to align them with one-on-ones when we're doing with people. So if we have some criticism for people, we can say, hey, it goes back to this core value. And when we have too much of that disconnect, then it knows we need to change some of our core values.
And do you see core values evolving as time goes on, or are they pretty much set in stone? And
I see them as evolving, but you have to stay true to your core principles, right? So there's a difference between
Makes
principles and values, and so your principles, you need to stay true to those. I think some companies you see kind of change their public values as they go along, and I think that's changing their principles also, like Google. But at the end of the day, if you still stay true to your principles, I think you should change your values as you grow.
Definitely, yeah. Kind of switching gears and getting over to the marketing side. Love the click tips that you guys give on a weekly basis. How did that come about? I ask because I think it's such just the education of using platform systems, onboard, anything like that. The education piece is missing. There's a ton of opportunity there, and I mean, it helps alleviate customer service time and all that type of stuff. Like, how did that whole idea come about, and how has it evolved?
Yeah, well, that in particular, there's a lot of things under the hood in ClickUp that you really just don't know, and we can't show you because it would overwhelm you until you start using the product. So there's tons of little things that we do that just nobody else does. Like, when you paste a link to Figma or anywhere else, it will unfurl that link. You can assign comments to people. You can minimize your task into a tray so that you don't have to open 100 tabs. These things are under the hood features. So for click tips in general was more of like, let's give a weekly tidbit of like something that people may not know, something that's not that obvious. But to your point, yeah, it's all about education. There's two sides to the market in our industry. There's people that know and or use project management software, or there's people that don't know it. So the first group is they can come to ClickUp and kind of pick it up. But that second group, there's a bit much more education involved for people that haven't used project management software before. So we're not there yet in a way that we want to be. But next year, our whole initiative in Q1 is just the education side of this, making people more productive in the way that we become a thought leader, showing them different strategies to have, because we don't have that in our industry yet. Still, there really isn't. I think Basecamp had a chance to do that, with the publications and the books that they put out, but it really has been more of like the opposite of work. What we see work as, it's more like, oh, let's not work, let's do this. But they're in that mode, like I said, we're at a startup. They surely didn't start like that.
Yep. No, definitely. Are you guys using that? I mean, get the emails. Are you guys using that for marketing at all outside of just the emails and internal users and stuff like that?
So our marketing automation, we certainly use for internal use case, like based on is somebody active, did somebody use this feature or not? Let's tell them about it if they didn't. Do we have a segment like their buyer persona? Are they this type of category, this type of person? So we use that as much as possible. We don't do any outbound marketing yet.
Gotcha. I mean, those would be huge if you guys had like a branded video, someone watched it, like YouTube ads basically, someone searching for project management Monday, whatever it is, show them the sweet branded video and then retarget them with all the different features and let that really help go, oh wow, I've been wanting that, and that to sell. And so I think you're just sitting on a ton of awesome content there that would help user activation and stuff like that. And was just interested because I mean, it helps us quite a bit. I mean, there's so much that learning on a weekly basis as you guys send those out that's just like, oh, didn't even know that. And then it changes our internal process some, and I love it. Like I said, huge on the education piece. I mean, have you thought about doing something like this with maybe some of your more active users and getting a podcast and just asking them, hey, what was the onboarding like? How has this changed your guys' process? And it might help you guys uncover some things, but has that?
I haven't. That's a good idea. We do have a huge connection between all of our user base. We have a feedback platform where I read every single comment on there still to this day.
Oh, wow.
So I'm still very in tune with what people's opinions are, and I read every piece of feedback that we have. So every feedback that comes into customer service, it's either logged in our feedback platform or it's sent directly to me, or it's posted to a channel. So we certainly know what everybody is saying, but I think bringing like a real life character to this and being able to put it out there for other people, that's a really good idea. ClickTip sending in emails too is a good idea. If we did that every week, I think that's a solid idea.
So how is the Facebook group helped you guys grow and get feedback? I mean, I love that because there's so much knowledge that comes out of there on how I'm facing this type of problem, and then essentially other people outside of your company are helping answer questions. I mean, it's very educational, that word that keeps coming up. How has that kind of helped alleviate customer service and also just gotten more, I guess, engagement within the platform from current users?
Yeah, it's been phenomenal. Zach, one guy on our team, I think started that Facebook group, and I didn't realize, the power of kind of crowdsourced customer service. It is phenomenal. We absolutely should advertise the Facebook group more, and get more people over to there, because it is still primarily customer service. We have 1,000 tickets every day coming in.
Wow.
So it's a big load, and at the end of the day, we still want to be able to handle these customer issues like exceptionally well, phenomenally well, our core value, but having a user base that's already using the product that can answer those questions immediately for people and give people different opinions about things is even better in my opinion. So we should double down on that.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because I mean, even like I said, I've gotten a lot of education out of there and a lot of help on using the platform and how other people are using it. It's different perspective essentially, and it's got me thinking just, hey, is there opportunity in creating a client Facebook group? I mean, for our clients and stuff like that, to where maybe they could help each other answer some stuff and give some insights and some strategy and stuff like that just crowdsourcing ideas and information. I think it's been very eye-opening being in that group. I'm part of a few different groups, but I mean, none of them are as active as your guys's, and it has been super eye-opening on just the power of it. And not only that, I mean, Facebook just if you post in the group, pretty much everyone in the group can see it, whereas if you post from your company page, it's only like 10% organic reach now or whatever it may be. But just the visibility that your user base has whenever you're engaging with the group, it's been eye-opening and it's been cool to watch. And I'm sure, like you said, it helps with the tickets and all that, and kind of alleviate some of the bandwidth on your customer service side. So it's been great. I love it. Where is ClickUp your long-term future? I mean, you've worked on and built a couple different companies. Are you planning on running with this for a while, or are there other companies that you have, other ideas that you have in the works that?
I always have. I have too many ideas, right? That's my distraction. Is there are too many ideas. I mean, so at the end of the day, though, this is my thing for the foreseeable future. When I started, I didn't think that it was going to be. I didn't think that this was kind of that $1 billion revenue category where we really could, change the world, as a cliche as it sounds. But after getting into this industry, I know for sure it is. It's just we're growing faster than I've ever seen any company, at least at our stage, grow.
Oh, yeah.
And it's very exciting. We have passionate users that love our product, and we love them. So yeah, this is my thing for now. I am in the process of starting a restaurant, though, a healthy fast food restaurant. I think that market just doesn't really exist that well
not
yet.
At all. Those two words don't.
Yeah, it doesn't go together. But there's a technology called air frying, where you can air fry food, where it fries essentially. It tastes like it's fried food. The texture is the same, but it doesn't use oil. So I'm looking at opening a. And
does it taste fried and everything?
Oh yeah.
My wife has been telling me we need to get one of those, and she's like, I don't know, and so basically building a business around that.
Yep.
That's cool. How do you navigate? It sounds like, serial entrepreneur, just tons of ideas. How do you not let noise distract you from what your vision is and what your goal is? I think, as we've talked to other startups and just even solo entrepreneurs and stuff like that, distraction, I think, is the biggest thing that prevents awesome ideas from getting to market and getting out there. How do you navigate that?
So until 3 months ago, I was the only product person at our company, and I was just 100% focused on product. We never tried to grow. We didn't have sales. We didn't have marketing. We didn't have any of these functions. It was just supporting the product and creating the product. So we didn't listen to anybody else, really, right? We didn't have investors. We don't have investors. I'm the only investor. So we don't have to listen to other people telling us, hey, go do this, go do that. And we also, in some respects, you know, we have a great user base, but there is a lot of noise there. And everybody, there's two types of features that people want. There's things that people request that generally exist elsewhere, and then there's stuff that nobody requests. All right, so we've always been big on developing the things that people don't request also, in addition to what people do request. So it's about listening to everything. So it is, you still have to listen to the noise, and then it's just aggregating that and saying, is this a big problem for people? Is this an 80% problem, or is this a 20% case that we shouldn't listen to? So there's a lot of like sniff tests that we do, you know, around should we develop a feature, should we not develop a feature? But at the end of the day, we're that company that is primarily saying, yes, let's keep developing, let's keep creating things. Because that just doesn't exist in our industry yet. People have traditionally been very opinionated in software, saying like you have to use it this way. We're not going to develop new things. We're just going to wait till somebody else comes along, and then we'll start developing things. So we always want to be kind of ahead of the curve in that respect.
Yeah. How? I mean, you've mentioned aggregating responses and all that type of stuff. How much has data played a role in the growth of your guys' company?
It's been a huge piece, yeah. Our feedback platform, particularly in the way that we develop features, but also we send out surveys. We send really quick surveys, like 30-second surveys, yes or no questions that tell us a really big picture about what things that we should develop and features that we have developed. We also use some analyze platforms for looking at which features are used, which features aren't used, and which type of people are using those different features. So it certainly plays a huge role in it. But I would say that like the vision of ClickUp really was always there, and we always followed that and didn't listen to the data for that. So you can't always listen to data. Like it's like after you ship something, improve it by listening to data. But it's hard to listen to data before you ship something, because you're only going to be hearing people's opinions of like what they want to have, or what they've used to, or what they hear in another competitor. So we always try and like take our kind of vision for this, put it out there, and then see what happens.
No, I love that. I mean, I just love the data part. That's everything that we try and do is ROI focused and everything like that. And so data is just, it has a little place in my heart. So you've mentioned you've kind of learned from your past experiences on here. What has been one of the biggest hurdles that you've faced, maybe not even just in ClickUp, but just in general and in your different businesses? What's been the biggest hurdle that you've had to face, and how did you go about jumping over that hurdle?
Hiring is always a huge one, particularly right now. Hiring is our hardest thing we have to do, because we are pretty strict on our standards. So getting that right has been phenomenal change in our business, like the pre-hiring phase, the hiring processes. I think that's been a really big, at least hurdle for us to get over, that we've gotten over. Moving down to San Diego has been incredible for that. But I mean, I would say, and just in business in general, is there's problems every day, right? Every single day is like, nothing is like a real problem anymore. You know, we had probably the biggest customer-facing problem we had this week was on Monday. But it's a huge fire that we put out, you know, and I think that I'm just used to problems at this point. So there's always problems. You just go out there, you learn it, you do it. You don't have to be perfect. That's a big mindset that you should be in, is like, don't be perfect, right? It's just like ship something, do something, try something, and then fix it later, iterate on it later.
No, that's awesome. So, I mean, just from my knowledge, I mean, the whole hiring process, outside of the work-life balance question that you ask, I mean, what are some things that you have found that makes that easier? I mean, we're getting to that point where we're going to need to bring on some more people, and we've kind of faced that where the whole work-life balance was greatly desired, and that's not where we're at, and have had to make changes and stuff like that. What are some of the things that you guys have done to, I mean, outside of that one question?
Yeah, well,
find that?
We do. I mean, our process is we have a survey that people fill out, which really asks more qualitative questions about kind of who you are, how you think, And then we have a phone screen, assuming that goes well. And that phone screen is again, primarily focused around like qualitative things, like who that person is. It depends on which role we're hiring for, but if it's a customer service role, the number one feature we look for is happiness, optimism. Like, is that person happy? Are they optimistic? And that's proven to be really well in customer service. In engineering, we always give people a mini project. And so we can tell from that mini project the quality of code that they're going to write. So those little things go a long way, like giving somebody something that they're really going to do in real life. Give that to them before they start the job. Mm-hmm. If you're working on a landing page or whatever you're working on, give that to somebody and see how they do on it, and you'll get a better idea of like who that person is. We ultimately also, at the end of this, we look for references. And our reference checks are a little bit different than other ones. It's more of you rate the person on a scale of 1 to 10 on like 6 or 7 categories of things. And then we look at that data. When you get 3 or 4 references, you remove the anomalies, because sometimes people will give you ones that are their friends. So that's easy to remove when you see the anomaly there. And then you aggregate that data, and we also do our same, we call them scorecards. We do our scorecard on that person, and we compare that to what the references checked with their scorecards. And if it's below certain thresholds on things, we'll just say no. Example of that, even in customer service, if it's below an 8 on optimism and happiness, then we just say no matter how much we like the person. It's just we've learned from data that we have to say no.
No, I love that. No, that's definitely good. Definitely helps. I think been trying to dance around that whole trying to create the work-life balance and all that, but it's I don't know, it's been good to hear that it's just, no, if you have a vision, just surround yourself with people that have that same kind of vision. And that's the best way to go about it. It's tough because you just hear it all the time, like the need for work-life balance and all that type of stuff. So no, it's been pretty cool. As we kind of wrap up, would love to hear, what are you most excited about? I can't wait to see what you guys do on the education side come Q1. But what are you most excited about in the next couple months that you guys are working on?
Yeah, so what we're finishing the vision for is the platform. And by platform, I mean being able to integrate everything and customize everything. So right now you have something called a task with comments, right? But imagine if that task was a person, or if it was like a lead, or if it was an account or a client. That's what we're moving towards, is allowing you to use things for more than just tasks. And you'll be able to eventually, right now you can send a comment internally, but you'll be able to send an email from ClickUp. So you can send an email to your clients and attach that email directly to that task, and it lives in there, and you can reply in real time. We're working on our integrations right now, so we'll have about 300 integrations off the shelf or early next year, January, February. So it integrates with everything. Every tool that you're already using, we'll integrate with, and we'll start being that work platform where you can really integrate all of your external data. So, to give you an example, if you got a YouTube channel, you could attach a YouTube video to a task, and we'll tell you how many views that YouTube video has in that task without having to leave there. And then you can set up automation around that. Like when it gets to over 5,000 views, do this, change the status to this, and notify this person.
That is sweet.
So it's really building this whole platform for all of your work where you can put everything in one place.
That is awesome. No, we just recently stumbled on the embed view and the doc views, and having logins, everything all in one place, it has been a huge game changer. That's exciting. It's exciting to hear. I can't wait to see that. Yeah, is there anything else that you'd like to add in terms of just ClickUp, who you guys are?
Yeah, I will say that look, I think at the end of the day, there's a lot of choices in project management software. What we're trying to do is really aggregate your project management software stack and all of your work stack. So there's so much inefficiency in the way that people work today on the internet, even remotely. You've got Slack for chat, and you've got documentation elsewhere, you've got files elsewhere, you've got tasks usually in one or several project management applications, you've got email separate, you've got your CRM that's separate, knowledge base that's separate. There's all of these things that are so separate. We say one app to replace them all. We're not literally trying to replace every single application. We're trying to be best in class at tasks, docs, goals, and then integrate really well with everything else. So, I would say if anybody works with a team of more than 3 people, you're probably doing something very inefficiently by keeping everything separate. So give us a try.
Awesome. I love it. So I appreciate the time. Where can people find you, find ClickUp, different social media channels?
Yeah, so we're everywhere. On Instagram very heavily, and Twitter and Facebook. Join our Facebook group. That's the awesome place to get started. Like you were saying, you'll be able to ask people hints and get some expert advice on there. We also are here 24/7 for customer service. Help@clickup.com.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I appreciate the time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.